I flew to the front lines of the border crisis in Eagle Pass, Texas.
Disturbing to see is when you see a small child being brought across a river. You're talking about Chinese people are paying anywhere from $35,000 to $50,000 a person just to get across.
Where are they getting $50,000?
That's a good question. 1.7, 1.8 million known gotaways. You know, the number's much higher than that. There's no way to determine exactly how many people cross or in a group. So the number's much higher than that.
So there could be 3,000 or 30,000 known terrorists in the country that we don't know about.
And we wouldn't know about it until it's too late.
I flew to the front lines of the border crisis in Eagle Pass, Texas, and I met up with Lieutenant Christopher Olivares of the Texas Department of Safety.
Dr. Phil?
How you doing, sir?
Good, Chris. Good. Welcome to Texas.
Well, thank you so much for hosting us.
Yes, sir.
Christopher has spent more than 20 years protecting the area. He gave me a tour of the expansive Rio Grande separating Mexico from the United States. Anxious to see what's going on down here. I have to say the area really did look like a war zone. Take a look.
DPS helicopter 116, where did y'all have the group of 20 in?
Valderrama on the river.
You can see all the storage containers that block it.
So, Dr. Phil, a lot of those structures that you saw in Mexico, they're used like a stash house.
Yeah.
And then they start moving them across the river. That area, yes, that was one of the main crossing areas before that marine barrier was put in place. But ever since it's been put there, it's shifted the activity to other areas.
There's an airboat patrolling right there. So massive out here, it's astounding.
Yep.
I don't know how you cover it all. How big of groups have you seen at a time?
We've seen them into the hundreds.
Once you get up and see the massive nature of this river just in the probably 30 or 40 miles that we can see from being airborne, the task is overwhelming, absolutely overwhelming what they're trying to control down here.
All right, Dr. Phil, we're gonna jump in here and I'm gonna take you by the river.
All right.
All set, good?
All set. When you arrest them for criminal trespass, what happens?
So they go through the whole court system, just like they do in Texas. Like for anybody else that gets arrested for any type of state crime, once their court case is adjudicated, we then turn them over to ICE agents for removal proceedings. Now, what happens after that, we don't know. We don't know if they get released into the country or deported into Mexico.
But they go to jail.
They go to jail, state jail, for a state offense.
They aren't just released into the country.
No, no. That's our stance as a state. It's another deterrent measure. So they try to avoid us. They avoid us at all costs, and that's why some of the numbers here have decreased because of that and because of National Guard as well.
Okay, so they look for a green uniform instead of a brown uniform.
Exactly.
And then they're walking along a highway and you see them and you stop them. They've got papers at that point, so you can't arrest them.
We can't. That was happening early on, that many of those illegal immigrants, once they turned themselves into Border Patrol, they got processed, they were released into the streets. Now, that was just overwhelming the economic system here, also local resources, local police departments. And that's when Governor Abbott started busing some of them to these other cities because of that, to alleviate that strain. That's been very effective.
So you're seeing children come in with numbers written on them, right? Do you call those numbers?
Well, when we come across children, we turn them over to Border Patrol right away.
So they go straight to the green uniform?
We do have special investigators, which are Texas Rangers, and if they see something out of the ordinary or if a child makes an outcry to one of our police officers, then we can investigate. And that's one thing that's probably more, I guess, disturbing to see is when you see a small child being brought across a river and they have a little piece of paper with an address and a phone number, because obviously nothing gets reported when they're on their journey to the border.
These people that are coming across, are they all different nationalities, right?
Right.
How do they get from China to that side of the river?
It's all coordinated with, criminal smugglers in Mexico. This has become a multi-billion-dollar industry, criminal network, as far as human smuggling. Every person that comes across that river, whether they be an adult or a child, is paying a fee to these Mexican cartels. You're talking about Chinese people are paying anywhere from $35,000 to $50,000 a person just to get across.
Where are they getting $50,000?
That's a good question. This morning we're in Eagle Pass. It's been a very busy morning. Just multiple groups of illegal immigrants coming across. The river level has been high. It makes it more dangerous in these situations for these people to cross. At times they do use children. They use them to cross through the wire, to raise a wire, because that we're gonna have to accept them because there's children involved. They've been told not to cross, but they continue to do it. And that's probably the most challenging part.
I've seen these people that are coming across. Where are they getting $50,000?
That's a great question. And we don't know exactly how the ins and outs of that or who's funding the money. But we do know that there is a lot of money involved with anyone that's crossing this river. It's very coordinated. And the people that are involved that are already on the U.S. side that are also communicating with criminal networks in Mexico. These last 3 years have been very profitable for these organizations in Mexico. Their moneymaker is smuggling people into the country. It's no longer drugs. There's less risk for these organizations to smuggle people across the river as opposed to smuggling drugs across the border where they risk losing their product because every person that comes across, they pay up front or they communicate with somebody in the U.S. that's going to pay them that money.
Well, if you've got Chinese, you've got Syrians, you've got people that are clearly coming from enemies of the United States, and they don't have the money, then it's clearly being financed by somebody.
Exactly.
Somebody's paying the freight.
Exactly. It's not just the cartels either, because even if you look at the number of suspected terrorists that have come across so far in the last 3 years, over 300, that's a record number. Those are the ones that have been caught. So think about the ones that haven't been caught and who's working with them in conjunction with these organizations in Mexico.
What percentage do you think have been caught?
It's a very low percentage. There's so much talk about gotaways, and I'm sure you heard that,
right.
1.7, 1.8 million known gotaways. The number's much higher than that. There's no way to determine exactly how many people cross or in a group. So the number's much higher than that. You can only imagine this has been taking place for the last 3 years, and there's no way of knowing where these individuals are right now.
How many known terrorists have been apprehended in the last 3 years?
There's been over 300.
It would be naive to think that you've caught 100% of the terrorists.
Yeah, of course, that's not the case. That's not the case.
Is it a small percentage?
It's a very small percentage.
Okay.
Very small percentage.
So if you've caught 300, then there may be 3,000 that are in the country.
Yeah, if you look at based off the number of people that they have confirmed so far, based off CBP, 1.7, 1.8 million known gotaways. Remember, that's just known.
That's known.
Yeah, we're not even talking about the unknown that have been able to get through undetected.
So there could be 3,000 or 30,000 known terrorists in the country that we don't know about.
And we wouldn't know about it until it's too late. We wouldn't know.
Clearly, it's a humanitarian crisis. Clearly, it's a problem here. But if we've got 3,000 to 30,000 known terrorists that are in this country and we don't know where they are, we're not tracking them, we're not monitoring them, then we've got a threat inside this country. They could be scattered throughout the United States, making some coordinated plan to act against the United States at a certain time.
Exactly. We wouldn't know until it's too late. And that's just one factor, right? We still haven't, we still gotta even look at the criminal gangs, MS-13 members, cartel members, people that are in here right now that are also working together with some of these individuals that do want to cause harm.
That's the criminal element, not the terrorist element.
I think it's one thing that everyone can agree on. This is more than just a humanitarian crisis. We're talking about threats to national security, public safety, that's going to impact the entire country.
I met up with an Eagle Pass Border Patrol agent who says her job is not what she signed up for.
Hi, Dr. Phil.
Thanks for taking time to do this. We're really interested in what's going on down here.
Yeah, it's been a very frustrating couple of years for our agents down here.
I've talked to some guards off the record that are real frustrated with what they're doing. It's not what they signed up to do.
Right, and that's the same with the Border Patrol agents. They're stuck processing, transporting, and they want to be out in the field doing their job, but the policy needs to change so we can get back to doing what we're supposed to be doing. Is it the catch and release that's driving them crazy? Yeah, there's a lot of that. Certain nationalities, a small portion are still being deported, but most, yes, are being released back into the communities. Who's being deported? I think right now it's the Hondurans that are being deported. Why them? Just the agreements that the administration has with the countries, that they're able to take them back. I mean, if a country refuses to take them back, we can't send them back. So that's what we have with some of the countries, that they won't accept them back. So they get released, or they're claiming asylum, so they have to stay. Of course, we have a above average amount of people claiming asylum. And what about the unaccompanied kids that are coming over? As long as we can find, or they have an address on them, we'll contact that address and see if we can get an adult that they can go to that'll sponsor the kids, and we'll send them to a family member here in the United States. How many kids are we talking about? A couple hundred maybe daily.
That's a lot.
Yes.
That's 1,000 every 10 days, 2,000 every 10 days. That could be 6,000 a month.
Possible, yes.
How do you deal with the emotions with all the agents? So it's got to be depressing, heartbreaking, everything all at once.
Right, it's depressing. It's hard to see these children alone by themselves. And you know, they're fearful from the journey they've taken across the border. Our agents have seen way too many drowning deaths. I mean, we have agents on our boat unit who've rescued people daily, and it is very hard for them. I mean, it takes an emotional toll.
What's the suicide rate among agents?
I mean, even though morale isn't that high, that hasn't been an issue.
That's good. It's got to be tough. It'd be a lot easier to go somewhere else, wouldn't it?
Well, yeah, I've been here for a while and I have family, but I know some of the agents who don't have, you know, roots here, or they'll pack up and leave. I mean, it's just not what they signed up for.
Yeah, I can well imagine. Is there any message that you want out that I can amplify and elevate?
Change of policy. Let us do our job. Let us enforce the laws that are on the books. That would change a lot of things.
Like what in particular? What needs to be enforced in particular?
The actual INA, the Immigration and Nationality Act, I mean, the laws are in the books. We just need to be able to enforce those and be able to do our jobs and have consequences for the actions.
So you could enforce what's there.
Right.
Yeah. And what's stopping you from doing that?
Just policy.
Just a policy of not allowing you to do it.
Mm-hmm.
Well, God bless you for what you're doing.
Well, thank you, sir.